yetu amitapendwa ya vintu ifisume vyote bula kuivukisha kana depotimo wimbo watemenwa katongi abazunga batita katongi nakula kuivukisha kateka kaibukubuna kapona neseko syove pamenso yangwama umebaya iyaba baume iyaba baume
kateka wabantu iyaba baume twakulira lelo twakulira shikakukonke milimo shove Leti kume mo pulo dolole avale lilo wingi
iseko wingi mwakwete iseso wingi mwakwete mwaya mwende wino tata wesu
katusi muchi motege wali bomba kale lomba mwatuja tuleli lake Good day and welcome to today's broadcast. Today, Friday, the 29th of August, 2025. Share the program. We have an interesting discussion today. We're discussing the state of our country. We are discussing the state of our country, the role that the church must play in these under these circumstances. Zambia is literally, at a nexus as we go towards next year's elections with political tensions, an issue of economic crisis, social and other tensions in our country. This week I'm privileged that I'll be hosting various men of God just to speak to this issue. Today, I'm privileged to host Professor Kapapula. He's a Zambian national based here in the United States. Professor Kapapula, is highly qualified with PhD, master's programs, and he'll tell us himself about this. He's currently engaged as a leadership consultant. He's also Chief Education Officer of GCIM, and recently is a senior pastor. He will tell us over this transition and the church that is pioneering. We are discussing the state of the country and the role of the church in the governance of our country. So welcome to today's broadcast. Share the page. There will be an opportunity for you to phone in and ask Professor Kapapula any of the questions that could be burning. Let me just invite Professor Kapapula to the program. Professor, good day and welcome to today's broadcast.
Thank you. Good day, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. I hope you and your family and yours are good and okay. I've invited you rather on a very important topic to discuss the role of the church in our country. But before we go that, we'll also discuss the state of our country, then we go to the role of the church in our country, looking at the various credentials you hold. We identified you that you could be one that could contribute immensely to this debate and help inform our country of what we all need to do, especially the church. But first of all, just tell us about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in Ndola. My father was in politics and he served as member of parliament for Mwense constituency and also governor, member of the central committee, and one of the pioneering founding fathers of Luapula province. If you can remember, Luapula was part of Northern province. And so they're among the people that really just fought to be able to establish it as a province. And really comes from the royal family, was a grandson of Mwata Kazembe. And I'm a father of 4. Like I said, I have 3 girls and a son. Recently, my oldest daughter had a child, so I have my first grandchild, and I'm enjoying that role now as a grandfather. And,
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. That's my hobby now, just being able to hold that baby. And interestingly, because of my name, the nature of my name, this Easterners messed it up. They name women after it. So my daughter decided to name my firstborn daughter after me. It's a privilege. It's a joy. So she's Kaluwa now. There's Kaluwa Anakashi and Kaluwa Home. I blame it on the Easterners.
No, not at all. Most of the names are unisex. So it's only these gender issues. Northern Luapula, and many places, even in Southern Province, you find Mutinta, who's mostly a woman, but you also find Mutinta who are men. You find Monde is a female name, but you again might find Monde who's actually a man. So these are unisex. Congratulations as
Thank you, sir.
a father, and welcome as a toting grandfather. The country may not know, but you've recently lost 2 brothers, and our deepest condolences. Just speak to that, and then I'll invite your comments on the crisis currently grappling our nation. We lost our president, Zambia's 6th president, Edgar Chagwa Lungu, for various reasons. He still has not been put to rest, going to 3 months. Just give us your personal tragedy that the family has suffered, then we'll go to the country.
Yeah, both deaths were very painful. But the pride we have as a family is that they died doing what they loved to do, and that was saving their country. They died in public service. They died serving. Humphrey was murdered as as a mayor or town council for Mwense district, and he had also served as councillor for Luwa Ward in Lusaka. And Buka was run as member of parliament for Mwense at some point under MMD, but also transitioned to PF and died really doing what he loved to do. It has been painful for us as a family losing them, but we rest in the fact that Dad raised us to be servants, to serve our country and to serve our people, to serve wherever an opportunity arose. I've oftentimes told people that I didn't have to go to school to learn servant leadership. I grew up with it in my household, and so that's what they did. And it was through that they died. And we remember them, and we remember what they did, the contribution they made, and their works. Thank you for asking, and thank you for your condolences.
On Humphrey, did they pursue any charges against anyone? Is there a matter in court to hold someone accountable to it, or it's a cold case? What do you know so far?
The family decided to just put it to rest. Nothing will bring him back. Nothing will bring him back, and so we are, and we have accepted the fact that we've lost him. Regardless of what we would do, whatever we would pursue, still nothing will bring him back. And so we are comfortable with and we were guided by elders. We have elders in the family. We were guided by elders to just put this to rest. Mwata really took time to speak to us about it and to guide us in the way we needed to handle this. And so we are in a good place.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Just let me invite your remarks and probably to formally pass your condolences to the family of the late president and give us your reflections on that.
Yeah, it's my condolences to Mama Esther, to the children and the family, the sister, and everybody that is involved, and also to the country, because that is a loss for the country and the region also at large. And it is sad that we are where we are, and I think that's part of what I would like to also be able to discuss with you. How did we get to where we are? The death of President Edgar Lungu and the impulse surrounding his death is a true reflection of where our country is, the status of our country today. And honestly, in my opinion, if I was advising the president and advising the family, especially from the president, the way this issue could have been handled. We are Africans. And we have traditions and some other things. We have a great resource that could have been used, which I don't think has been tapped into and has been used. And that great resource is Mama Kaseba, Mama Vera Chiluba, Mama Tandiwe, Mama Mutinta, Mama Inonge Wina. If these women were sent without cameras, without anything, and they had a heart-to-heart talk with their fellow woman, this issue could have been sorted out. But we tried to use other means. We'll get to that. But I mean, if there is a way these women, our mothers, that's how we solve issues in our tradition. It's being able to identify who are the elders in this area and who can speak volumes to this issue. We have all these former first ladies who are still alive. And Mama Esther Lungu is a former first lady. And she listened to them. I remember when I saw a picture that you posted of Mama Mtinta visiting Mama Vera Chiluba. People were excited. People were excited to see that. They went to see more of that. And so she needs to be surrounded by people that understand what it is like to be able to live in the State House and be able to live and do things. I think those would be people. At some point, Mama Inonge Wina issued a statement, which I believe has been one of the greatest wisdom issued on this matter. She issued a statement, and when I saw that as a leader, as a leadership philosopher, I said, we have an opportunity. Here is somebody that can be used to be able to solve the issues that are going on. But the problem is we want to do everything on camera. We want to do everything publicly. Some of these things don't need to be done publicly, the issues that are going. That family is grieving. So we need to find a way to be able to do some of these things silently. Thank you. Sorry, I've taken much time.
You are our guest today. Ladies and gentlemen, we are hosting Professor Kapapula, and he's just briefly spoken about his life. And, what are you currently doing? You're a professor. Are you still teaching? Where are you at this point in your life?
I do teach sometimes. I was teaching, but the last class I did was global dimensions of business, which is international business, because part of the study is also in that. And just recently, a couple of days ago, I spent some time equipping church planters, people that are going to plant churches. And so I still do teach here and there. But I'm moving more into an advisory role. I've spent many years in the classroom and doing all these things and administration, but I'm moving more in a role of advising and helping where I can. And I'm also enjoying pastoring. Pastoring was my first love. That was the first thing I did straight from Bible college. And so going back to pastoring has been a joy to be able to see lives changed and lives touched. And also we are in the middle of developing an app, which I cannot preempt much there, with GSIM, dealing with learning styles and how creating a community and how it is important for people to realize that we learn differently. When I went to school, I wasn't the smartest kid in class, but it's just that I learned differently. And so when I realized that I learned differently and discovered my way of learning, that has helped me over the years. And that's what I want. That's the contribution I want to make, is to help people realize that we all learn differently. But when you look at the structures, the educational structures that have been set in place, they are all tailored to test people the same way, to educate people the same way. That we've done a lot of disadvantage to a lot of people who could really contribute to society and make a big difference if they were educated properly. And so we'll talk about that.
Professor, what you just said is actually very insightful. What do you mean you had challenges and with education? You're a professor, well distinguished with many degrees, including a PhD. So it might surprise many people that struggle, maybe with maths or with the sciences, and they think they are down. Here you are as a professor. Just speak to, that's very profound what you just said, that you thought you had difficulties and learning abilities, and here you are, you've risen to the highest echelon of education.
I'm sure my kids, my daughter, when she wrote grade 7, she got 800, and she came home and said, "Dad, what did you get?" I got 500 at grade 7 the first time I wrote. 500. Kaniki Primary School. So I repeated grade 7, and the second time, during my time, they would stick the results at the headmaster's office, the window. And so everybody from the compound, everybody from the community would come and see the names. And so the second time, I had gained some reputation in the community. So I had boys that I would send to go and check my results. So I was by the roadside and I sent a boy to go and check my results. He came back scratching his head and saying, boss, Shirata Pani Pantash, your name is not in front there. Maybe behind. Maybe they put it behind. That's how, but I got 647 the second time. And they said you failed by a few marks. So basic concept was just coming in Zambia for the first time. And they said, we are opening a basic school. So you go to a basic school. And it was a mess. It was terrible. I ended up quitting school, staying Mushi for a year, and then went to Mwense Boys. I went to Mwense Boys in Kapapula, where my father was a member of parliament. At first, he was so hesitant to take me there because I would embarrass him. And so eventually, it began to click, and I began to realize the problem is I just learned differently. And when I discovered that, I began to work towards things the way they're supposed to be done. And here I am today. Here I am today. Not the smartest kid on the block, not the smartest person, but I just discovered that I am different. And in doing that, I have 4 kids. My oldest is pursuing, my oldest did communication. My second is pursuing medicine. And my third one is pursuing law. The third one is exactly like me. She's a girl. And but the rest, was a Damano from their mother. But the third one is like me. But she's ended up, she's gone through school, has managed, and we sat down and I said, Mwana, I want you learn differently, let's work on this. And now she's in law school. And so this is the contribution we want to make. I believe GSIM will really revolutionize education, the way education is done. I was in California recently, in the Silicon Valley, trying to work on this, trying to see what can be done. But as soon as it's ready, probably we'll approach you if we can come on to be able to share how people can benefit from this.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you. To our dear viewers, we are hosting Professor Kaluba Kapapula, eminent man here in the United States. He's a man of God. He's an academic. As you've heard, he comes from a political family. His father was a former member of parliament in Mwense in Luapula and was very, very strong in advocating that Luapula became a province. Remember, it was one province. Northern Luapula and Muchinga were one province. And understanding development, his father advocated that if they could hive off Luapula from northern province at the time. But he has his own path. He's a professor, as you've heard, and he has also chosen to contribute, especially through his role as a man of God, as a pastor, as a senior pastor. Give us a reflection of the country. Do you travel to our country frequently? And of course, you have relatives, you have friends. When we have funerals, like when you lost your two brothers, you have to travel back home. What is the state of the country? And after looking at it, through the various leadership that we've had from UNIP, MMD, PF, and now UPND, and the various presidents, now we are on the 7th president. What's your reflection of the state of our country at the moment?
Makalamba, the question we need to ask really is, how did we get here? How did we get where we are today? It's not so much about what is happening. What is happening is a result of many, many years of neglecting certain things and not being able to do certain things. I wouldn't blame a lot of things going on one individual. And again, I'm not here to discuss individuals and even the presidency. Presidency is an institution, so you do not, President Hakainde Hichilema represents an institution. So when we talk about these things, we are addressing institutions and not individuals. So how did we get to where we are? These questions have not been asked. The issues going on are not UPND issues, are not PF issues, are not MMD issues or UNIP issues. They are issues that we neglected, things we... as a professor, I'm a student of history. And I love to dig into history to be able to find out what is going on and what is happening. Why we are going through what we are going through is because we got stuck as a country. We got stuck, and where we got stuck, and what that means is we are neither a democracy or a dictatorship as a country. And let me qualify this. Let me qualify this as an academician. When you read about these systems that govern the nation, Zambia is not classified as a democracy, and it's not classified as a dictatorship. It is classified as an hybrid regime. And that is very important for us to understand. What is an hybrid regime? An hybrid regime is a regime that tried to break away from dictatorship towards democracy, but got stuck in the middle and failed to get to a place of democracy. In 1991, we had an opportunity. First, 1964, we had an opportunity to break away from that to be able to bring ourselves to a place of democracy. But along the way, we got stuck. 1991, we started very well. We started very well on the journey to democracy, but we did get stuck. We got stuck. And as a student of history, it troubled me a lot. So I began to study and say, where is my country? And a lot of papers that have been written about Zambia, a lot of things that have been talked about Zambia, will tell you the description we have. We are an hybrid regime. regime, and that is considered usually known as the gray zone. We are in the gray zone, not in the green zone and not in the red zone, but in the gray zone. And what caused us to be stuck? What caused us to be stuck in the gray zone? What caused us to be stuck in the gray zone, Wakalamba? It's the what we would call in academics as transplant laws. These transplant laws are laws that you transplant from one society into another society. Zambia is still governed by the English common law, although we have the traditional law, but it's still governed. It's being governed under the English common law, and that's what we respect. But we have to realize and understand, why did the British establish the English common law in Zambia, in a place like that? Two reasons they established that. The number one reason they established that was to be able to extract minerals and resources out of the country. So they created laws that will enable them to be able to extract the wealth of the country and take it. Today, United Kingdom has more, reserves of gold than any other country, and they don't even have a single mine, all because they created laws that enabled them to be able to do that. The second reason they did that was to centralize authority. Those who were alive at the time of Walensky, at the time of that, some of the things we had, one British one British police person can command the entire village, because they created a system. They created a system of authoritarian rule, and that has continued over the years. So when we've tried to break away from that, our leaders realize, there's a lot of sweet. There's a lot of power. It is so sweet to be here, to stay here. And as a result, we have not contextualized our laws. An example I'll give you. We have the traditional laws, up to now, that has not been coded. That has not been coded to be able to give us a framework of how these laws are done, of how these laws, the interpretation of everything. Basically, it's whoever gets there and whatever they feel like and how they think it should be interpreted. That's how it's interpreted. We have not coded that. 60 years of independence, and still we have not yet coded the law that we respect and the law we want to go by. So what needs to happen at the moment? Is for us to be able to just find it in ourselves, to decolonize ourselves. We are still under the colonial mentality. Psychologically, Michael Chilufya used to say, he's so rest in peace, would always say, Kaunda panel beated your minds. But I think it goes beyond that. Walensky did a good job to colonize us and to be able to panel beat our lives. And so most of these problems that are happening, it's because of the laws that we have. We have not decolonized ourselves. We have not brought ourselves to a place where we can deal with things based on how they need to be done. One of the things I'm hoping would be done, one of the things they left us with is what we call Unicamo legislative system. Unicamo legislative system is where you have one chamber, you have one like parliament. We just have parliament. In other countries, you realize that they have the system called bicamo, and that provides a lot of good checks and balances. Unicamo is very good for a small population and for a kingdom. It does not work well when the population is growing the way it is growing in our country. FTJ tried. The establishment of the House of Chiefs was meant to be able to bring us to a place where we can have another house, but it didn't have the legislative power. It didn't have the power to be able to make decisions and to speak to. If, for example, we contextualized the laws and established the second house, which would, for the sake of argument, let's call it the House of Wisdom. Others call it the Senate, the House of Wisdom. Senate was established to be able to get the order people in the community who would be able to provide balance and to provide wisdom. We don't have that. We don't have that. And so if we created something and we looked at picking, you take our paramount chiefs, and the provinces that do not have a paramount chief, you pick one chief from there. You take the church mother bodies, 3 people from there. You take retired presidents if they are alive. You take retired cabinet secretaries to the cabinet. You take a certain people from the society who the president can be answerable to. Right now, the power that has been created from counter time to now, honestly, the president is not accountable to anybody apart from the 5-year, thing. We wait until after 5 years, that's when we hold them accountable. It shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. We can deal with issues as we go along. By creating systems. So basically, all I'm saying, the state of our country today is a reflection of things we have failed to deal with. We have failed to decolonize ourselves. We have failed to break ourselves free and be able to contextualize the laws that can govern our country, to be able to bring us to a place where we can do things in a healthy way, in a way that would benefit others.
I love your analysis that partly is that we have not decolonized first our laws, our education system, and our governance system. And the colonial authorities didn't do well because they literally abolished and abandoned our governing system and introduced something very, very new. And then, we've been troubled to learn, perfect that system. And when the dictatorship arose, we aspired to be a democracy. And I'm glad that you've identified that we are not yet a democracy. We aspire to be. We are more leaning to a dictatorship than to democracy, looking at how the central powers and immense powers that one individual or a central authority occupies, the president and government, leaving out the governed in the peripheral. I think that is well. We are going towards next year's elections. The state of the country is worrying. You identified partly our history as a problem. What do you see as a current crisis?
The current crisis, if at all there is a crisis, I'll try to be careful here, because as an academician, sometimes we have the hypothesis. We have to look at things, how they can be proved. One of the biggest challenges we have is judicial independence in the governance structure. The reason there is judicial independence, there are a couple reasons. Number one, it's because of the history again. Number two, it's because of funding. My students, when I was training pastors, they said whoever controls the pace controls everything. Judicial funding in our country should be percentage based. And what I mean by that is that when the budget is being created, it is enshrined in the Constitution that judiciary, and this is just an example, judiciary will get 5% of the budget, the national budget. And they'll work with that. They'll make decisions. They'll hire people. They'll do whatever they need to be done. They will not be at the mercy of the government that comes into power, because they will have the money to be able to hire the right people to do things that need to be done. So number one, financial funding of judiciary is critical for us to be able to do. And secondly, it's like I've talked about legislative amendment, the House, in terms of elections, national elections. we our society is tailored towards, you know, what is happening at the moment. We don't we you know, they used to talk about you know, how you would, as long as you are fed, you are okay. You know, it's politics of the stomach, but you know, as long as you are fed, you are okay. And so we forget, we get money from these politicians, and we vote based on you know, what they gave us at the moment, and we forget all the years that needs to be evaluated and needs to be looked into. 1991, I'll give you an example. My father was in Parliament in 1988 to 1991. Was among the people, together with people like Michael Sata, who fought for multi-party democracy. My father stood on the grounds that we needed the introduction of multi-party democracy. And in 1991, he did not run for office. We were surprised when he said he was not going to run. And we asked him, Dad, why are you not running? He said, I fought for this, for you, my children, and for my grandchildren, not for me. Not for me. I've done my part. I've saved my country. I've saved in a way I needed to save. So I'm not going to run. He was very close with Bachiluba and was very close with Mwanawasa and a lot of people that were running in the MMD. But he still decided to stay in NIP. When they asked him, he said, no, we all don't need to move to MMD. Who is going to be providing checks and balances? I'll still remain UNIP. Because this is what is needed for our country. And he taught us, he raised us in a way that we needed to, you know, and in 2006, I believe, Booker was running as Member of Parliament and MMD. Humphrey was running as PF councillor, for PF. But they would get together, we would all get together, we would eat together, we would do things together. It doesn't matter, we can have different opinions about issues. We should agree to differ, you know, to disagree, agree to disagree, where we have different philosophical opinions, but still live as people of one household. And not because if I'm PF, if I'm UPND, if I'm UNIP, then you don't talk to me, then whatever we do. And I'm looking forward on your podcast for you to be able to bring in like the US ambassador, you know, Zambia's ambassador to the US, Chibamba Kanyama. Have you ever invited even sorry to come in this way, Your Excellency?
That is fine. You know, when I started my earlier, sorry, Professor. When I started my earlier version of this broadcast, the Conversation podcast, I sent out invitations to the Minister of Information, you know, Cornelius Mweto. I sent an invitation to the Minister of Finance, because these were my preoccupation. I was discussing mostly bringing to the table issues. I didn't want the politics of personalities. I really wanted us to move away from personalities to issues. So I had no problem in inviting people from the other side. It wasn't a PF platform. Even this is not a PF platform. You are not a member of PF. So I try as much as possible in a diverse way to bring people here. But what I've noticed is the people from government are quite timid to come here. I think it's a hostile environment where people judge you by mere association, not by the content and character and issues that you bring to the broadcast. So it is regrettable, but I continue to try hard. I've held, for example, people that hold quasi-government position, like Noah Onkoma is a well-known and renowned economist and commentator, and he came on my program. But the inner circle of government have failed to come. But I keep on sending invitation that for the purpose of our country, let's discuss the content, the issues, ignore the personalities, you know. And I'm glad that the example you give, I think, comes from your father. Your father, Felix Kapapula, was Member of Parliament for Mwense, and the history you give, where he stood as a member of parliament, fought in 1991 and didn't pursue the politics further. Then your two brothers, Booker and Humphrey. Humphrey was a PF member, and he was a council under PF. He later became a council chair in Lusaka. He later became a council chairperson in Mwense. While Booker, your other brother who died in, I think, 2020, was, standing on MMD, and the family was never fractured. I wish that the coexistence could manifest more and cut through the tension, the tribalism, and the regional politics that have engulfed our country.
I appreciate that, and it's sad. I think we can challenge our people from here to say, I think let's grow beyond these divisions and be able to come together. Your interviews are not intimidating. Being on your platform is not intimidating. You are not interrogative in the way you interview. So anybody can come to this platform and really be able to speak about issues. And it is my prayer that as we go forward, as we move forward, this is a great platform that many people from government can really come over and be able to express themselves and deal with the issues that are going on. And so going forward, I think that's my prayer. The unification of the country, we have to be deliberate about it. We have to be deliberate about it to ensure that as a people, we come together, regardless of what political party I serve. I used to tell my students when I would teach in Zambia, they would ask me, your brothers are in politics, are you PF, are you PND? I would always tell them I'm UNIP. My father left me in UNIP, so I'll die in UNIP. I'll die in UNIP. But I used to say that because I knew UNIP was not a threat. When I started the university, when we built and launched a university, I launched it in Southern Province. I'm Bemba. You got me. I bleed Bemba. I'm Bemba I'm Lunda from Luapula, mostly on the Bemba side. And but I went to Southern Province. That's where I established the university. I lived there for 5 years. I lived at Ten Park for 5 years. The issues I faced were UPND would think PF has planted me there, and PF would think, no, I've gone there because of UPND. I've become UPND now. And I told them my commitment at the moment was leadership education, to be able to provide that. And I was born in politics. If I wanted to do politics, I can easily just jump in and be able to do it. It's part of my heritage. It runs in my blood. It runs in my family. But, if I was doing it, I wouldn't be hiding anywhere to be able to say I'm hiding behind this. I'll just come out forth to be able to do and say things. So my prayer is that as we go to the elections, the number one thing we are praying for is that let's respect ideologies, different ideologies. When people think differently, respect their ideologies, their philosophy. They know why they lean towards the certain political party. They know why they lean towards certain beliefs that they believe in. We can coexist and be able to still function as a people. And this is happening, in other countries. It can happen even in our country.
Professor, before we open phone lines, what should be the role of the church during this period? You are privileged to be a member of the church. The church has played a very key role during the governance of our country in good times and in bad times. If you look at the role of the church in 1964, you see that the aspirants to national leadership were mostly trained under missionary schools. So you see how the schools run by the church grounded them in national leadership. You see, in 1991, the tensions are so high. There are various coup attempts against Dr. Kenneth David Kaunda. And there is a movement that has emerged advocating multi-party democracy. And the polarization and tensions are so high, it took the church to bring them to the cathedral for them to discuss. It took the church. Even students played a very key role in bringing our elders together to, we saw in 2001 the church banded together with the Law Association of Zambia, with NGOCC and others, and formed what they called Oasis Forum, and put a break to attempts, by the government of President Frederick Chiluba to go for a third term, and also just a discussion of constitutional amendments at the time. We have seen repeatedly, especially during constitutional amendments, how the church opposed President Mwanawasa's attempt they put him in a way that he should, follow the people's call for a constitutional amendment that could represent the people. And that you trace 2011, you trace it 2021, the church have been very prominent. Of late, the church have also been prominent in attempting to stop President Hakainde Hichilema's changes to the constitution. But many people think that the voice of the church is feeble, the voice of the church is muted, that they come too late to the party. What could be your analysis, and what should the church do? Especially that you are standing from a vantage point from the United States, where you are not part of any local process.
I think the statement that was issued in March of 2025 by the church really speaks volumes, that the church has the liberty to be quiet or to speak. The church is spirit-led. The church belongs to the Lord Jesus Christ. And sometimes if they decide to go quiet about an issue, there could be some spiritual underlying reasons why they are doing that. That's number one. The number two, there's been a lot of division caused by political influence, where again it's the colonial mentality of divide and rule. If the church can be divided, we'll conquer. But if the church is united, and speak with one voice, then the church will have a lot of power to be able to curve some things, to make some of these changes. But currently, I have been trying, I'm still communicating with some of the leaders of the church in Zambia. And my prayer is that the church does things as led by God, not just what the public wants. And sometimes we would think they are quiet because we expect them to react in a certain way, and they don't feel comfortable reacting in that way. Maybe they feel something different needs to be done. And so I wouldn't speak to deeply as to why, but this is what I suspect. These are just my suspicions. But my prayer is that the church would engage. The church's role in national governance is pastoral leadership, providing pastoral leadership. And pastoral leadership many times is where you provide guidance. You provide guidance to the country. You speak on issues with a lot of wisdom, providing guidance on how things need to be done biblically, interpreting the scriptures to the people, especially that we've been declared as a Christian nation. It's very difficult. I've trained a lot of pastors, I've trained a lot of church leaders, but still, the church is autonomous, it's independent. And church mother bodies sometimes have, like I know of Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, you have a lot of representation and not everybody has the same view. So when EFZ speaks, they have to make sure they are representing the majority of the church to speak on the views that but when there's a lot of division, it's better for them to be quiet and like they've done, and just pray until God gives clarity and guidance. I pray that they'll play a bigger role in the coming elections.
Wonderful. It's your turn, members of the public, for those that have been watching Emmanuel Mwamba Verified program today, the Friday edition. Tonight we are hosting Professor Kapapula, a Zambian national based in the United States. He's a man of God, he's a professor, he's an academic, and we are discussing the role of the church in the governance of our country and just what has gone wrong with our country and what should all of us do. What should be the role of the church? And you are invited to call on the number given. Let's hear from you. This is an interactive program, so share the broadcast. Share as you are watching. Share with others. Let's hear from many Zambians that would like to participate. So I'm opening the phone lines for you, and let me just prepare my phone so that when you call that we can pick the calls that your contributions should be. Professor, my last question, as we are waiting for our callers to call. When you look at the opposition, what is your message to the opposition? You have a message for government, you have a message to the opposition, I mean to the church, but to the opposition, what is your message?
Well, one of the biggest struggles I have with Zambia is that we unite at misery, at the misery to be able to just get rid of a government, a sitting government. This has been going on. It just didn't start now. We don't define reasons why we are uniting to be able to accomplish what needs to be accomplished. Number one thing is just to be able to get rid of the government. That is a wrong way to approach things. The best way to be able to approach things is to sit down, go to the table. I talked about transplanted laws. Transplanted laws are the ones that influence even the policies that we come up with. And if we don't define our policies very well, we will struggle in many ways to provide checks and balances. So in terms of policy formation and policy development, policy formation always begins with sorting out the problem. What is the problem we have? What problems do we have? And how can we sort these problems out? And then you begin to form policy around that to be able to sort out the problems. Same applies with opposition. That's how unification of opposition, that's how it's supposed to function, is to be able to sit around the table and ask ourselves, what is the problem with our country? Where are we? What problems do we want to solve? Do we want to sort out? Not everybody needs to run as president for presidency. Not everybody needs to run for office. Like I told you about my father decided to stay outside of the system. But for us, it's let's get rid of this president. Who can win the election? Who can do what? And when they win, there are differences. Some of them are left out. Then they go back and they start gathering with other teams. But let's sit around the table, identify the problems. What problems does our country have? And
Thank you, Prof. Let me take some calls quickly for people that are calling so that you can then answer those. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening. My name is Mwamba, an advocate for industrialization and national development, calling you from Zambia, Kabwe, Central Province.
Okay, wonderful. Make your contribution.
Thank you so very much. Pastor Kapapula, good evening.
He's listening.
Thank you. Pastor Kapapula, what you've explained needs to be translated in 2 books. I first met you, I think it was 2010, when you were the principal at Kaniki Bible College. True, you are coming from a political home, and whenever you associated with anyone from the low class, you exemplarily showed that you truly a man of God. And we needed men of God in Zambia to speak, and those that can stand in the gap and tell the leadership the truth. We have reached this far, it's because our minds are still colonialized. How can, frankly speaking, Britain, which has no mine, it has reserves more than Zambia, which has a lot of minerals? Why should we continue suffering at the expense of our minerals? And we need you men of God truly to come out and speak that resources that God gave us are supposed to be used in the interest of us, of the people of Zambia. The 20 million Zambians cannot in any way be sleeping without good education facilities, without good health facilities, without even food. It's unacceptable because we are not among the countries that God said they shall be famine and they shall be pestilences in diverse places. I don't think Zambia is included. I'm so happy to see you after a long period of time. Thank you very much, Ambassador Mwamba.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's take some more calls so that Professor can quickly call. That was Kefas Mwape. And let's pick the calls so that Professor can answer your concerns. We are discussing the life of our country and what the role of the church should be during this time. Professor has been gracious to narrate just his own life and, you know, how he has contributed from his perspective to the role of our country. This person has sent a message. Is talking about the crisis of the Edgar Lungu funeral, and he says, I'm wondering what President Hakainde Hichilema will say at the Edgar Lungu funeral. And he says, we have not used the family, we have not used this funeral to unite. Instead, it has caused division. Call as I wait for the calls, let me just... there's a video that I wanted us to refer to. Professor, there are concerns around... Okay, just a minute. Now the calls are coming in. Yes, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay. Good evening, Professor. You know who this is. This is Singogo.
Okay, Mr. Singogo. Make your contributions.
Yeah. Professor and I go way back, back in the time that we were in the youth camp. In the youth period of time back in the days. The only question that I just want to ask to you, Professor, is that as a church, with the current situation that is going on, what advice would you give? I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's Mr. Singogo is asking about the role of the church in this time and what advice would you give? Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Your Excellency.
Good evening.
And I greet you, Professor, on the other side.
Thank you.
This evening I've got two concerns. The first one is going to the Professor. Being a person I've also known from Kanike Bible College. Professor, this one is coming to you direct. Professor, I'm really doubting the effect of church perceiving what happened recently. We saw some Hindus at State House and offering some spiritual guidance to our president. When I just saw that picture, I got so worried and concerned to say Zambia is a Christian nation. And we've got a lot of Christians, pastors, who can stand there and guide our president in spiritual welfare? Are you telling me that all these courageous, like the professor and a lot of people that I know, have been undermined? Could this be the reason why they are silent? Because of this kind of thing that has been seen in our president? And the other thing that I want to put across to all Zambians is this simple thing. You know, we're having a very big problem about democracy. I heard Your Excellency, you mentioned about democracy on how democracy is being perceived today. We have a very big problem. The problem is what? We have a person who is spearheading a democratic country, saying we don't have opposition, and is very proud to say that. Why is a person saying that? Because he's not interested in the democratic space. He wants to be a lone president, one-party state. Would you tell me that a political party would be happy to have no opposition and start killing opposition and arresting them? We don't want a president. Yes, we don't want a dictator.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Let's also allow other people to call quickly. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
My name is Martin Sochukwanda. I'm actually calling, currently I'm in South Africa.
Martin from South Africa, make your contributions.
My contribution is that, first of all, the president that we have in this country, Zambia, does not care about democracy, that's number one. Does not care about the rule of law, number two. Number three, the freedom of speech that he preached and he fought for while he's in opposition, he doesn't even respect it. You can imagine he was in the forefront of fighting against the cyber law and freedom of speech. But today, when he was even asked the question at State House by an interviewer that came from, I don't know whether it's from BBC or whatever she came from, he dodged the question to answer. He was giving example CPF, he talking about CPF, talking about cadres from markets, and he dodged all the important questions the lady was asking. And these journalists, when they're coming to Zambia, they need to do a research. They need to speak to people before they interview these leaders because they don't care. Because if they really, truly cared and if they're truly investigative journalists, they should be able to investigate what is going on in the country, what people are complaining about, and ask those critical questions. Because I can tell you, today in Zambia, we do not have good investigative journalists. They are all cowards. And people have been shut down. People are not talking. And what is disappointing, to be honest with you, other churches are not speaking out. They are interested in receiving 5 million kwacha donations, 21 million kwacha, 2.1 million kwacha donations, but they are forgetting the welfare of the people. The Bible itself says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And all these churches are not speaking out. What is happening in Zambia today? There's no freedom of speech. There's no democracy. All this has been shut down because of one person. Imagine PF, which was the strongest party in the country, has been destroyed. They are putting the stooges to run the party who are not even democratic themselves. And somebody should brag that we have democracy, we have a rule of law in the country. I mean, let's be serious. That's why the country cannot develop when we have such leaders. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. Let me see if I can take two more. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Yes, this is Lukunka Mlenga, also known as Z now on Facebook.
Yes, Lukunka. Make your contribution or your questions.
This is going to be a two-part. So on the first part, I have seen, the concern about the church and what the contribution of the church can be, or what it should be to, the current political landscape. The only thing, with that is that historically we have seen the church in Zambia, especially the pastors, the front leaders, the front runners of these congregations, are more interested in taking the, just brown paper envelopes more than anything. And so at that point is that, are the church truly invested in bringing unity, or is it more as a way to just divide the country? And we see this all the time. some churches won't even allow certain political leaders who are affiliated with certain parties to even attend services or to stop by or just to speak to people, but they'll allow maybe people from the current administration to show up and open doors to those people. They'll welcome them because they know that at the end of the day, they are going to receive something. So personally, I think for the most part, the church just need to sit back like they usually do when you have crisis. Usually the church is quiet. They don't offer real solutions. So when it comes to political landscape, the church usually preaches against being involved into politics. So at that point, I just don't see any value when it comes to the church and much offering. If they do it quietly in the background, well, so be it. So, to me, that's just what I think. But then the second part is speaking to the opposition. As far as the opposition, we see too much criticism and highlighting issues that the current administration has been doing. And one thing that I've constantly been saying, even on my platform, is how there is no unity amongst the opposition. And so when you think about that, being able to pinpoint problems that we're currently facing, everybody knows, everybody can see that. But then if you're able to identify problems, where are the solutions? This is what most people are interested in. So when you look at the front runners of these political opponents, you think about it. What are you trying to offer different? But then if you just have a bunch of noisemakers, everybody hopping on social media, just speaking to what's happening, everybody just pointing fingers. This is what the government is doing. This is what the government has done. Look at what's trending here. Look at what happened over here. There is a meeting here. It's like, okay, but we can all see that. But what's the solution? Who can we trust? Who is speaking to the young people? Because in the end, there is not going to be any real winners in this. It's just going to be a whole bunch of confusion. People don't even know who they can vote for. People don't even know who they can trust. And the same people that people are attacking or coming up against are still going to emerge victorious when it comes to the 2026 elections. But we need somebody solid. We need somebody who can give a different perspective. And we need that. They don't have to win the elections next year, but we need somebody who can still stand up and offer us a different perspective. And it breaks my heart to see that the opposition is still not united. So, I don't know. But we'll hear.
Thank you very much for your two major contributions. Thank you very much. I promised the two last calls. Let me see if I can get the last one before I ask Professor to respond. Thank you, Martin Sochkwanda from South Africa, and your contribution. Let me see if I can get the last caller before we allow you to answer, Professor. Okay, I think the line is not connecting. Professor, let me hand over the baton to you. Just wait. I think there is a caller. Just wait. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
This is Kalonde.
Is it Dr. Kalonde, the man I know?
Yeah, this is Dr. K.
Yeah, Dr. Kalonde, make your contribution to your dear brother.
Thank you so much, Professor. This is Kalonde. I'm here in Montana. I don't like using my job title, but I teach at Montana State University. And what I'm thinking of is the concern about churches, the concern about our president winning the next elections. My biggest concern is the church is not playing its role. That I have to tell you the truth.
Please hold on. Hold on.
Pardon me?
No, continue, sir. Continue.
Okay. The church is not playing its role like it's supposed to.
we can talk about the division that is in the opposition, but we are forgetting that the church itself, which has one solid leadership of Jesus Christ, it's divided. So I don't know who really is doing the right thing, the opposition or the church. So probably the church is not listening to its savior or from its leader, the true leader, Jesus Christ. That's what I think, because it's so divided, and at the same time, we have seen, I'm going to mention names, we have seen Mwamba doing things that are contrary to the writings in the Bible, and at the same time, chasing after money, and knowing that he's on the payroll for the government without a job that he performs for the government. I don't remember him being hired as a government employee. All those things are making the church to look awkward in this political arena right now. We have some Catholic priests that have been insulted by cadres in the government right now. And those cadres have not been chastised by the church. The church is silent about those insults to the bishops, to other pastors that have spoken against the performance of the government. Then one other thing is, when we look at the opposition, to me, the opposition is the opposition. When each of them formed a party, yes, we need them to be cohesive. We need them to work together. But at the same time, when they formed parties, they had some kind of optimism for what they wanted to do. And knowing how this government is, yes, it's trying to divide them even more. That way, it divides their votes. But it's up to us, the Zambians, who are supposed to say, we want this one. We must speak out very loudly that we have chosen this leader. Even if it is one person in the opposition and we see their leadership qualities, we see what they are doing and where they can lead the nation, let's surround that person and move the country forward. I would be honest with you, I don't want to see this government again in Zambia. I don't. I have several reasons, just like you have several reasons. We have seen how the minerals are leaving the country. We have seen how people have been killed in some areas. We have seen how it has selective justice. We have seen how appointments have been done in the country. Everybody is quiet. Why? Because this government played a trick on everybody by putting in the cyber laws that have stopped people from speaking out. They've taken away your freedom of speech, which is very cardinal. Speech is one of the most important human quality that we need to have, speech. Mwamba Ambassador, let me just give an example about one of my observations in the Disney movies, The Little Mermaid. When the Little Mermaid lost her voice from Ursula, she lost her voice and she lost everything. This is what UPND is trying to do to the Zambians. If you want to lose your voice completely, give them an opportunity next year. You are going to have Museveni in Zambia, to tell you the truth. That's Professor Kalonde from Montana University, a Zambian national, also in the diaspora, giving his very strong remarks. Thank you very much, Professor. Let me take these two quick calls. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening to you. Good morning to myself, Ambassador Mwamba. This is your colleague, Kelvin Chanda Kapwimbi. And,
yes, Wakafumbi, make your contributions.
What a powerful statement from Professor Kalonde. And Professor Kaluba, this is a statement that he has made, honestly, he's taken everything out of my mouth. But my contribution is that we may be few. I'm supporting Ambassador Mwamba. It's okay. Let people know about it. And our support, we're going to fight. And we need people like you to help us. Come and help us, Professor Kaluba. We may be few, but we'll make a difference to the country. So because Vakalonde has taken everything out of my mouth, I've said we are a few, but we are going to fight. We will fight to make a change.
Thank you.
It's okay whether they know us. I know you didn't expect it, but it might as well come out, my brother.
No, that is okay. That is okay. Thank you. That is Mr. Kelvin Chandaka Fwimbi from Australia. Let me take this last call. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Hello, Ambassador Mwamba. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, a quick one. This is Mr. X from Land of AI. My contribution is very quick.
Yes.
I just like to disagree slightly with not the previous caller, but the other caller who was saying the opposition are not providing checks and balances or solutions. I disagree with him. You see, the opposition has been giving solutions. Opposition, even on the pages of these presidents, they have been giving solutions on mining, taxation, agriculture, and other things. But I don't know why there's this narrative to put it across the Zambian people that the opposition is not offering solutions. In any case, if someone says I'll fix it, it means he knew the problems that were there. So why should you be saying bring solutions when you said you had the answer? So if you don't have an answer and you begin to point at people to say bring answers, it means you failed. So this thing of opposition has no solutions. And amongst the oppositions, we know the one the Zambians will rally behind on. There are some people, you just mentioned their name, everyone knows them. Some people, you ask 10, 15 people, they will not, they will even.
Oh, but yeah, we've got his gist. The issue of opposition not existing is not true. You've had the various, Professor, you've had the various calls from the Zambian nationals that have called. I think they give you a picture and reflection from across Zambia and across the world. Professor Kalonde is from Montana University, is even very categorical that in his view he doesn't want this government any further because of the litany of issues that he demonstrated. Kelvin Kafumbi from Australia says he's supporting this program and he wants this program to succeed. And then we had other callers like this one who's talking about the opposition, that there is the opposition. And he's right, we are writing solutions again and again. And it is not true that there are no solutions. The solutions are there. Just give your reflections and then give me your closing remarks for the day. It's Friday. Would like you to join your grandchildren, your grandchild, and also, give our viewers also just an opportune time to. It's Friday, so I prefer making Friday a short broadcast. But we've done it 1 hour 30 minutes already.
Well, thank you so much, and great contributions. Mwape, thank you for all the wonderful words, very kind of you, and over everybody that has really spoken. I'm an academician. I wish there were more precise with questions. I deal with 1 + 1 = 2. But the comments were really, really wonderful. And of course, it's people's opinions. It's people's opinions, and we have to respect that. But one thing I kept on hearing from everybody is the trust issue. Is the trust issue. People don't seem to trust government. They don't seem to trust political atmosphere, even amongst opposition. Trust is very cardinal in everything we do, and it's been reflected in the last 2 governments, this one and the previous government. The rejection of the constitutional amendments was a clear message of mistrust, that we don't trust you to make changes on our behalf and governance. So what is needed is for us to go back to the drawing board and ask, where did we lose the trust of the people for them? Because people are elected, we elect them to go into office, to go and make decisions on our behalf. But if we can stand and oppose them from stop them from making decisions on our behalf, then there's an issue. There's an issue. And that really needs to be reflected. And like I've said, I still stand on what I've said. We are not a democracy yet. So my cry at this point is, how can we get ourselves from the place where we are stuck, to get ourselves to a place of democracy? How do we move ourselves from this gray zone that we are in? We've been in for a long time, to get ourselves to a place of democracy. What Zambians are crying for, there is a lot of trust in democracy. When democracy begins to thrive in a country, everybody's happy. Everybody's happy. And so we need to find ourselves in that place where asking the real questions, asking the tough questions. Let's get ourselves back to democracy. I kept on hearing democracy coming up. I kept on hearing democracy, trust, coming up. But what I would say about the current government's way of dealing with things, I'm a pastor and I'm an educator. And all I would say is, history is the best judge. History is the best judge. And so when we work, even the aspiring politicians, aspiring leaders, as you work with this in mind, that history will be able to judge you. You'll be gone at some point, and the ones who will remain are the ones who will remain judging you for what you did for them. Mwamba, you posted, I think it was, I don't know if it was a president or somebody from Singapore, who was advocating the we concept. That we are better off when we appreciate that we, the people, we did this, we do this, and remove the selfishness of just wanting to enrich ourselves, wanting to be able to make names for ourselves, wanting to just be able to do things in a selfish way, but doing things sometimes in the background, like I shared about my father, who in 1991, my father fought hard for multi-party democracy, but he decided to step aside. He had an opportunity to be able to work with those people. Like I said, very close to people like Mwanawasa and Vachilwa. When Mwanawasa started his law firm in Zambia, it was my father who bought all his furniture. He knew these people, but he still did not take advantage of his relationship with them. What he was focusing on was for me and for my children, his grandchildren, to be able to live in a country that is peaceful, to be able to live in a country where they can just be able to, they can be who they are and be able to enjoy life the way they want it to be, to enjoy it without being intimidated, without fearing to be able to bring out their opinions. Let's get to that place of maturity as a people. Yes, there's a lot that has been said about the church. I will engage with the church, I can promise this. I will engage with the church, the Zambian church, to be able to present some of these views and what has been presented. But also, I think we can be praying for them and be praying for everybody to be able to ensure that things are done in a way they need to be done. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. That was Professor Kapapula, who we're hosting today. He's a Zambian national who's based here in the United States, an academic, a man of God, a pastor, and he used to run a university back home in Zambia, and he was giving his insights. So, Professor Kapapula, thank you very much, and thank you for your sacrifices for our country, everything that you do in your private moments and also in public, like you did come to them. thank you very much for participating in this program. For you, the viewers, thank you, and thank you for the calls and the messages. And now those that are calling now that we've closed the program, let's see how we can follow up. Tomorrow, I've got another brother from the church, Reverend Dr. Japhet Njovu. Is resident in Canada. He's former CCZ General Secretary, and you remember his role when he was in Zambia. He moved to Kenya. He's now based in Canada. We have various lined up a lot of leaders just to speak to the country about what can be done. So join us tomorrow on the Diaspora Forum when we host Dr. Japhet Njovu, Reverend Japhet Njovu. Today, we are with Professor Kapapula, and he did such a fantastic job. Thank you for your sacrifice, and greet my grandchild. God bless you, and shalom, shalom. God bless our country, and God bless Zambia.